This man has become a mentor of mentors.
Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. That might be a writer downer. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Now, conversely, that means when you have clarity, that's the root of all success. And here's what I don't want you to do. And what this training is not going to do is have you hole away in a corner for 3 months putting the perfect plan together. Because improper action always beats proper inaction. So that's the other thing. This is about the Marine Corps training I got was we have to make split decisions on the moment that lives are on the line. We assess the situation, we make a decision, we choose our desired outcome, and we act.
Yo, GoMobile Solutions coming to you from my deck out here in Cabo San Lucas, overlooking the Sea of Cortez and the Pacific. But there's a reason why I'm not in the studio today, and there's a reason why I'm holding you in my hands. See, you're all in my laptop here. Coming to you for another Happy Hour Hangout, and I'm out here right now on my deck smoking Marlin Belly. Yeah, look at that, huh? We got it on about 150 degrees. It's a 5-hour smoke for just those little pieces of belly. It's gonna be scrumptious. So I've decided to go ahead and try to do this happy hour up here so I can watch my temperature and thermometer, etc. I am super pumped today. How are you? This is it, by the way. This is your last happy hour hangout. Not ever, but for 2021. This is it. We're bringing this incredible series that we've been doing now, bringing it to a close this year with a really special guest, a really special guest. Everyone loves and appreciates my special guest. You're going to absolutely love the Simplifier, a man that I've known who's been in this industry since the beginning of 2000s. You know, most of you know I'm knocking on 50's door, and I started in this internet game in 1997 when the internet started. And I started in the marketing world right about that same time. My special guest started around 2001 is where he starts his first journey into internet marketing. And since then, this man has become a mentor of mentors. For instance, Rich Schefren. Many of you have heard of Rich Schefren. He's mentored Rich Schefren. He's held an executive position for Rich. He's mentored guys like Mike Filsaime. He's a co-founder of the Marketers Cruise. Many of you know, in fact, some of you that are on here right now have probably joined me on a few of those cruises. In a regular world. But what I'm super excited about is what we're going to be talking about, because I told my special guest, Tom, who is a Marine veteran, by the way. Thank you for your service, sir. And I was telling him, I said, you know, we really need to close the year strong and get our community positioned and ready to go big in 2022. I just got the talk. He hit me, he goes, I got the talk. And we were talking a couple months ago about this. And he said, you know, the talk that I'm going to give them, I refer to as the $25,000 talk, because I've shared this information with a group of 12 2 times, and several people walked up to me at the end and said the $25,000 I invested to be here was all worth it because of the talk that you guys are going to be getting today. The talk today is going to, from the Simplifier, is going to be showing you how to gain clarity. Look, you have everything you need. You need to recognize that, and you need to be very super clear on how to put it to work for you and where your optimization points are. If you really want to get your year started right, you don't wake up February 14th or 15th and realize, oh, half the first quarter's gone. You get started day frickin' 1. And if you've got a hangover, that's okay. You get started day 2. But you definitely don't wait until you've lost most of the month. My man today was chosen to be the last happy hour of this series. He might be number I want to say he might be number 69 or maybe number 70 of Happy Hour.
Stick with 69. We'll go with 69.
We'll have to check. Derek can confirm for me. But I knew that the best way to get your mind on a position to be thinking about making it your best 2022 ever, you got to start now. You have to start thinking about it now. Yes, we're going to go into holiday mode. Yes, we're going to spend time with our families. But when you get those moments to break away and have a walk or have a meditation, you need to crystallize your thoughts and become really clear. You deserve optimal health, you deserve optimal relationships, and you deserve optimal finances. And this man can help point out some very simple tools for you because you deserve that. So with no further ado, my good friend, Mr. Tom Beal, my good friend, thank you so much for being willing to do this all the way from Boca Raton tonight after being up since 4 a.m. traveling from New York, I believe, and you've been actually traveling since yesterday. Welcome to the global community, man.
Thank you for having me, Damien. It's a pleasure to see you in your beautiful surrounding there. And here I am, actually in upstate New York now. I started in Boca Raton, Florida this morning, 4 a.m., transferred up here via some flights and some connections. I got this Airbnb. I got the Wi-Fi working, fingers crossed, all is well. And Damien, and many of you know, Airbnb, sometimes they look great on paper, but when you get there, they're not so great. This one, I scored, so it's a pretty cool place. So you've got the ocean behind you. I'm in upstate New York in Rochester. Out the windows is Lake Ontario. So way up by Rochester, New York, Lake Ontario. It's almost the size of an ocean. It's huge, but it connects to Canada. So that's literally right outside the window there. Cold wind coming off it right now. So definitely not Boca Raton.
Yeah, and it's not the 82 degrees we had earlier today, man. I feel for you. Brr is all I can say. When you say Rochester, New York, I say brr.
Yes. I got to see my daughter earlier. My son's going to be joining probably at the end. He's coming from work, meeting me here. But I have some amazing information to share with you. And Damien, when he asked me to come on board, exactly as he said, I said, I've got the training that's going to give them the clarity that will make 2022 a slam dunk for their best year yet. And as he mentioned, I call this the Quiver of Clarity. And it starts with this quote. The quote is, lack of clarity is the root of all failure. That might be a writer downer. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Now, conversely, that means when you have clarity, that's the root of all success. And here's what I don't want you to do. And what this training is not going to do is have you hole away in a corner for 3 months putting the perfect plan together. Because improper action always beats proper inaction. So that's the other thing. This is about the Marine Corps training I got was we have to make split decisions on the moment that lives are on the line. We assess the situation, we make a decision, we choose our desired outcome, and we act. And we take action right away. So what you're going to learn is something that's very simple to implement and even simpler to apply. But what it gives you is that crystal clear clarity of doing what you already know is yours to do. But guess what? We're human. And we get caught up in the busy work if we're not super clear. So let's
hold on real quick. Just housekeeping before we get started, because that was a perfect opening. I just want you to know sometimes we like I did. We really like this to be informal. You'll see David Arnold there. You'll see we have some faces that have their cameras on. I'll be watching the chat. So if we have some questions, interacting and things like that, I hope you're okay with that.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, excellent, man. Let's rock.
All right, so let's rock this out. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Get your mind ready, gain clarity, and just make the decision right now that yes, now it's time for my time to shine. Now it's time for me to show myself, and in doing so, we'll show my friends, we'll show my family, we'll show my prospects, we'll show my clients what I'm truly capable of, because I'm going to have this laser-focused clarity. Now, here's where we begin this journey. It starts with the 80-20 principle. Now, we're gonna dive deep in this, but let's just set the foundation. We all have heard before the Pareto principle that 20% of our activities produce 80% of the results, which is fantastic. But it works again on a second level. So of the first 20% that produce 80% of the results, so now we're talking 80% of the results. Let's just pick an even number. There's 100 things that you and I do related to our business in a given month. 20 of them produce 80% of our results. Of those 20 that produce 80% of the results, 20% of those produce 80% of the 80%. Nod your head at the heads if that makes sense. So the first 80-20 principle, 20% of our activities give us 80% of the results. Of those 20 activities that give us the 80% of results, 20% of those, aka 4, give us 80% of the 80%, which is mathematically 64%, correct? So 4 things out of 100 give us 64% of our end results. That goes back to some things that we're gonna show you how to know exactly what those 4 things are for you, which are unique for each and every one of us. But that's just to set the premise.
That's
what I'm sharing
right there. 4 out of 100 gives you the majority of the results. That's
64%. So let's just use an even number. So $100,000. Let's just say you've got 100 activities that produce you $100,000 a year. 20 of those activities produce $80,000. 4 activities produce $64,000. Right? So you could get rid of 96 things and still have 64% of your end result. And that's just to clear your mind on, we all get stuck on the first level of 80-20. What I'm going to be training here helps you gain super clarity on the second level of that powerful Pareto principle. So that's the foundation set. Now, the cool part about this is it's not complicated. It boils down to 4 questions. And the questions are simple. The answers need a little bit of description, but it does require a bit of homework. And I want you to make this promise to you. Let's just say, and by the way, let me take a step back. Damien talked about, I've shared this with one other trainer and myself on the island of Tenerife. We had 12 entrepreneurs, and some of them brought spouses. So 12 buying units. I think you guys are familiar with that. So 12 buying units at 25,000 euro a piece. Met us at the island of Tenerife for a week. And so these are people already doing well enough to break away for a week, invest 25,000 euro, and spend time with us to learn how to 10x their business. So this is the main element that helps them 10x their business. And we did it once, and then we did it again, another group of 12, same thing, a week in the island of Tenerife. And after this presentation, both times, everyone unanimously said this was worth their 25,000 euro investment. So I call it the $25,000 thing because euros, not everybody plays that game. But it was at the time closer to 30. So these are people that are already successful, and you being in this circle are on the right trajectory. Are you tapping into your full potential? Chances are, I don't care what your level of success you are, you're not. I don't care if you're doing 100 million, a quarter billion, or $1 billion, you're probably not tapping into your potential. Here's gonna be the eye opener for you. So that's the framework. Now, the homework is this, and it's, when we were there with those people for a week, we actually sat with them and helped them with the homework. And that's the key, because we all know if we don't do the work, as you sow, so shall you reap. If we have a beautiful farm piece of land and it's got massive potential to grow all the fruits or vegetables or whatever we want to grow on it, yet we never till the soil and plant the seeds, we can't expect it to do it on its own. Same thing. I'm not going to be there and spend an hour or so with you working through this. Generally, it only took 15 minutes to 30 minutes for most people, but some it took a little prodding and pushing to help them with this. The homework's simple, but if you don't do the homework, you aren't going to get the results. Does that make sense? So I'm going to talk about the homework first, and this is real simple, and you can do this. I would, as Damien said, don't wait until February to do this. I would do this as soon as possible after today's training. And it's simple, but there's a quote from Jim Rohn that says, things that are easy to do are easier not to do. And boy, oh boy, Damien, you probably relate to this with something that you're talking with a client and you're like, look, this is super easy for you to do. And they're like, yeah, it is. And they don't do it because it was easier not to do. So this is super easy to do, but just know it's easier not to do. So I encourage you to make the decision now. I'm going to do this piece of homework. And here's the piece of homework. You break out a blank sheet of paper, maybe 2 sheets of paper, and here's the task. You write down everything you do related to your business in a given month. So write down these directions. Write down everything I do related to my business in a given month. So all the phone calls, all the meetings, everything that you do related to your business. And even write down, and especially write down what I've heard termed MWAs, minimum wage activities. Write down those minimum wage activities. Everything that you can think of that you do in a given month for your business, write that down. And what you're going to have is a whole bunch of things. And I know because I've done this and I've walked people through this, there's going to be things that you're thinking like, yeah, I do that, but I don't even want to write it down. Write those down. Like, those are the most important ones to write down. That's the first step, because when you get that done, we're able to now go through the questions. All right, so homework assignment is that. And we're going to tie into that homework assignment and remind you of it here as we progress through this Quiver of Clarity, the 4 steps. All right, so now the first of the 4 questions is this. What is the one thing that I'm not doing that has the potential to 10x my results right now? What is the one thing that I'm not doing that has the potential to 10x my business and results right now? That answer is different for each and every one of us. And obviously to narrow it down and discern what that first answer is, it's probably good to do some brainstorming. So ask yourself, what are the things that are out there in the marketing world that are at my fingertips, that are potentially something we could choose to do, yet we're not currently doing, that if we chose to do it, would have the capability to 10x our results? And let me pause there just to state it. Let's use the basic numbers that we talked about a little bit earlier. $100,000. If you want to 10x $100,000, we all know that means you'd go from $100,000 in this year, 2021, to $1 million in 2022. And I want to remind people, you don't want to work 10 times harder than you did this year, next year. That's not the way to do it. Doing what you already did to get 10 times the results isn't the answer to that. It goes back to this question. Now, that's the more in-depth question. The real root question of the Quiver of Clarity that's simpler is this. What do I need to start doing? What do I need to start doing? But I prefaced it with that longer explanation because what do I need to start doing doesn't mean go add 10, 20, 30, 50 more things to your already busy schedule. The only answer to what do I need to start doing is that longer question, which is what are, in the first brainstorming portion, what are the things, probably 3 things I would recommend that we're not currently doing, that if we did choose to go down that path, learn how to do it and actually implement it and execute it and do it, it would have the potential to 10x our results. What are those 3 things? And then narrow it down to 1. The answer to the first question, what do I need to start doing, only has one answer. And by the way, this is recommended to do every quarter at least. Once every quarter, sit down and go through this Quiver of Clarity process. So the first question is, what do I need to start doing? And like we mentioned, it's not about adding 3, 5, 10, 20, 30 different things to your already busy schedule. It's narrowing it down to specifically, what are the things that have the potential to 10x our business? List 3 of them and then narrow it down and choose the one you feel is now it's time for us to start looking into and implementing. All right. And then you take our handy little tools that we have here and you schedule that start doing task into your phone for 1 hour a week, right? Because if we just think about it and we make notes about it on paper and it's not in our schedule, it's not important to us. Things that are important to us get on our schedule. And we really have to let that settle in. So I flew this morning. It was in my calendar. It was on my schedule. I made sure I prepared to wake up on time, to have enough travel time to the airport to make it without missing my flight. That's how important. Let me just ask you this. If there were something that could 10x your business, would that be considered important to you? That's pretty dang important. If we're all here as entrepreneurs, like, yeah, if we did this could 10x our results. That's some serious growth. So if it's important, it needs to go in your calendar. Now, I will make this caveat. I have gone through phases in my calendarizing days. I was Franklin Covey planner all way back in the day. The write down one, the big, hefty, thick one, had a strap and carried around way back in the 90s. That was me. And I've since evolved. I was with the first Palm back before the Trio was out. I had a Palm and a cell phone. So I've been evolving through this, but now we all thankfully have one handy device, whether it's Apple or Android, that's where our life is, on our calendar. And things that are important to us end up on our calendar. And as entrepreneurs, I think we all agree, if there is something that we discern has the potential to 10x our results, that's pretty doggone important. So you schedule it for 1 hour into your calendar, but you also make the commitment. And this is where I was going with that twist of Franklin Covey. I never put anything in my calendar that, unless I'm dead or, about to die on the side of the road, I'm going to be there. Does that make sense? So never schedule something. Like if Damien and I had a call scheduled, he knows if I'm not there, there's something seriously wrong. Or we all know that if you are running late, you reach out prior to let people know you're running late. But I'm saying that because you and I all are here at this day and time because that was the time we were told to be here. It was important to us, so we were there. We won't let other people down, but guess who's the easiest person for me to let down? Me. Guess who the easiest person for you to let down is? You. So if Damien and I set an appointment and I don't show, that's disrespecting Damien. I would never do that. And I know conversely, Damien would never do that to me. And if there were some weird circumstances, he would reach out or I would reach out to make sure we both were in the know. It just wouldn't be a no-show. Now, if we're treating other people that important, wouldn't you think treating ourselves would be even more important? So I'm solidifying this because this is important. Just because you have it in your calendar, if you're not subscribed to this, what we just described, I mean, I've been, years ago, I've been that person who had recurring schedule appointments with myself that I would blow off. That's ridiculous. I would never blow off anybody else, but I would blow myself off. And until I came to that realization, that made all the difference as well. So you've discerned it. You've chosen this is the thing that we're going to start doing. We put it in our calendar for a weekly recurring meeting. And come hell or high water, that's our most important meeting for the week. All right, now let's take a step back and talk about what are some things that could be some answers for you. And it's different for everybody. For some people, it's to write a book. Finally, get that freaking book out, like that next book. The first book if you haven't got a book out, the next book if you have books out before. Other times it's to create a webinar, a live webinar, possibly. Other times it's to create an evergreen webinar. Other times it's to host a live event. In today's world, it could be a live event that's like we're doing here virtually or person to person. I just came from a live event that I was MC of some friends that ran last weekend in Austin. And live events are still a viable product to that answer of that could, for some people, possibly the answer to what I need to start doing is get back to live events and then determine, is it physical live event? Is it a virtual live event? All that. Other people, the next step is to create an infomercial, right? Well, crap, it's time for me to jump into the infomercial world or start advertising on TV, maybe not an infomercial, but start advertising on TV.
Well, Tom, yeah. let me peel it back a little bit, just if you don't mind. So also, let's think from the agency world, right? For some, it's start finally leveraging social media. For some, it's light up a new prospecting channel. For some, it's finally hire that appointment center, or finally start to hire people around me. Actually go, maybe it's to scale, right? And I'm thinking from the digital agency owner's point of view,
100%. And that's where it can possibly brainstorm with yourself, but also brainstorming with your team members and or colleagues and or peers. Like, hey, what are the things that could really 10x our business? And that's where you sit down and you do that self-analysis. And remember, this is things you aren't already doing. So we'll get to the other stuff that you are already doing and whether you want to do more of those or less of those. But these are the activities you aren't currently doing. And so as Damien mentioned, what are the things that do have the potential to really amplify your results that you just, for whatever reason, haven't taken the time and made the commitment? It's now is the time we're going to jump into this.
And maybe it's reaching out to that big lead source that's going to bring you hundreds of business owners.
Correct.
Or maybe it's signing a deal with a chamber so you can get access and an endorsement to hundreds of business owners.
Yep.
Just give you guys ideas for the list.
Correct. Right. And it's unlimited. I mean, the only limits that we have on it are our imagination, and obviously then it's up to us to brainstorm all the possibilities. And then, for whether it's buying a house or a car, this is how I mostly have bought all of my houses and cars. I just knew that was the one. I was like, that's the one. When you look around, boom, that's the one. Similarly, when you're brainstorming it and you'll have the different possibilities, you'll just feel at least when I've been doing it with my clients, it just feels like now it's the time to finally start this one. We've been putting it off long enough. Now it's time we dive into this and go full in. We're going to, and guess what? When you schedule that appointment, you may not know how the heck to do it. That's okay. You're scheduling that appointment. Now you're going to learn how to do it. And I'll make a book recommendation here that will be helpful to even figure out that. It's a fairly new book. Damien, if you haven't got this, I would highly recommend it as well. It's freaking brilliant. It's called Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan came up with the Who Not How, and Dr. Benjamin Hardy actually was the who, so Dan didn't have to do the how. Ironically, so it was Dan Sullivan's idea. Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who heard Dan say it, said that needs to be a book, and he's like, I'll write that for you, and Dan's like, perfect. And that's the book in motion. Dan's story, another author wrote it, and Dan gets the credit for it. So anyhow, who not how. So you don't not know how to do what this big idea is. But guess what? You're going to schedule it, and what you're going to be figuring out is either the who not how, or what are the steps? What do I need to know enough of to get this ball rolling? And is it finding that right person? Is it making that call? Is it whatever that next step is? That's what that time is. So just understand, just because you schedule doesn't mean it automatically starts being implemented right away. That's you putting the time, energy, and effort towards understanding, here's where we are, here's where we want to be with this, and reverse engineering it. What's the first step, right? And one step at a time, getting to that goal of accomplishing that answer to what do I need to start doing? The one thing that has a potential to 10x my results. All right. And remember, just figuring that out is step one. Step two is scheduling it on a recurring meeting. That's a pretty doggone important thing if it has the potential to 10x your results. Now, here's the rub. Boo-hoo, you don't hit 10x, you only tripled your business. Boo-hoo, we only went from $100,000 to $300,000. Oh, poor us. 3 times because you took some actions that were different. And there's that old saying, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, right? So this is something new. If you want new results, you have to take new actions. And this is the action. It's not just a willy-nilly, well, let's go do this and running around like a chicken with your head cut off. This is strategic thinking of identifying what the potential things are that could 10x our business, and then saying, well, we can't do them all. We're going to narrow it down to the one this quarter that we're going to start doing. You schedule it. And here's the funny thing. And this I've had so many clients over the years tell me, man, when I do this whole process, the less I work, the more my business grows. Right? This is about working smarter, not harder. These are the activities. These are the huge needle movers. This isn't working 10 times harder to 10x your business. This is doing the things that have the potential to 10x your business that you've been either neglecting or just been head down hammering away at the current activities, and not looking at the other possibilities of what are some things you can do to really exponentially grow your business and results. All right. So step number two. Step number 2 is, what do I need to do more of? What do I need to do more of? This goes back to the homework assignment. And the homework assignment, just as a brief reminder, is you sat down with a brief piece of paper or two and you wrote down everything that you do related to your business in a given month. And what we are going to do is identify what your 3 to 4 unique abilities are. And ironically, unique abilities is something I learned from Dan Sullivan. This isn't a Dan Sullivan training, but the dude is freaking brilliant. And his new book just came out. And what we're doing right now is really identifying what your 3 unique abilities are. The unique abilities are the things that you can't outsource, you can't delegate, you can't have another team member do, you can't systemize, you can't put a process in place. This is your capacity. This is the highest and best use of your abilities as the leader that you are. And how do you identify that? Well, this is one way to go about it. So from that list that you wrote down, all the things that you do in a given month, now it's time we go back and look at that list and you ask yourself this question. If I was only allowed to do one thing on that list next month that would still allow the business to continue to stay afloat and growing, what would that one thing be? Now, this is kind of tough, I will tell you, because it's tough. Our mind has a hard time wrapping around and prioritizing, but when we force it to do it, it will. And here's what I mean. There's that quote from Henry Ford, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So if you're like, man, I can't narrow it down to one thing, well, you're right if you think you can. But if you're like, all right, I'm having a hard time with it, but I think I can narrow it down to one thing, you will. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some figuring out. But when you look at that entire list of all the things you do related to your business, the current activities that you're doing, and you ask, if I was only allowed to do one thing in the upcoming month that would be allowing the company to remain afloat and growing, what would that activity be from you personally? And that now helps you narrow down in a unique way to find out what is the highest and best use of your time in the role that you have for your company. That activity is the best activity for you. And trust me, it's not as simple as it sounds, because you're going to be like, I got to do this and this and this. Well, one at a time, pick it. And what that is now is that's your highest and best use of time. When you prioritize it and you pick that one, that's the most important activity for you to do to continue for your business to stay afloat and growing. Then you get the second one, right? So we aren't stopping at one. On that big list, you go back and say, okay, I get another activity I get to do. Out of all the things I do related to growing the business each and every month, what's the second activity that I'm already doing the first? What's the second activity that I would say is the most important one? And you narrow down and you pick that. And then you do it again for the third time. And now you've got your 3 highest and best use activities that you've narrowed down. Out of all those things you do related to your business, these are the 3 most important activities that you can do. There's a lot of name for these. These are the 20% that produce the 80%. These are the, and you can pick 3, possibly 4 max, 3 to 4 max. And these are the 20% of the 80% and also the 20% of that 80%. So it's 2 levels deep pretty much. So let's just say you had 100 activities. Now you've got 3, maybe 4 activities. These are your unique abilities. These are the most important things that you could do for your business. The big rocks per se, the needle moving activities, lots of names for them. And then you do what we did with the first answer. You now take those 3 to 4 activities and you schedule an hour into your calendar recurring each and every week. Now what you have an hour from the answer to the first question. What do I need to start doing that has the potential to 10x my results? You've scheduled that into your calendar for an hour. Now you've got your 3 highest and best use activities that you've also scheduled in 1 hour apiece on a recurring basis. 3, maybe 4 max. And so you'll have 3 plus 1, so 4 hours or 5 hours max per week dedicated to 10x your business and giving attention, energy, and effort towards the highest and best use of your time activities to grow your business. And what this has done is it pretty much simplifies the demonstration that you've probably seen. If you haven't seen it, I'll describe it briefly, but you've probably seen it. It's a big pickle jar. And outside the pickle jar, you have big rocks, you have smaller rocks, you have pebbles, you have sand, and you have a glass of water. If you put the small rocks in first, and the sand and the water and the pebbles, and then you try to fit the big rocks in, it doesn't fit. When you put the big rocks in first, then the smaller rocks, and then the smaller rocks than that, and then the sand, and then the water, it all fits. This is a way to find the answer to that. So we all saw that representation. This is now putting the big rocks in your business growth first. And it's freaking brilliant because you will recognize when I give the proper attention to the big rock activities, the needle moving activities, holy cow, does it make a difference? Because what are many entrepreneurs doing without this type of clarity is they're putting out a fire here, they're interrupted over here, they're running around doing the 80% of activities that only produce 20% of the results and neglecting the big rocks. And at the end of the month, they're like, man, I wish I had more time to put towards the stuff that I've been thinking about. Well, this eliminates all that. You're now putting the big rocks into your calendar, and you're putting them in there with already making that decision that I don't make appointments with anybody without committing darn sure that I'm going to be there and give it my full attention. And so when you put it in your calendar, you're going to show up and you're going to give those big rock activities its proper attention. And holy cow, when I give those activities a proper attention, magically my business grows like gangbusters. It's amazing. It's incredible. So that's that. So answer the first question, what do I need to start doing? The one thing that has the potential to 10x your business. You discern it down, you put that in your calendar. The second question is, what do I need to do more of? You took that list from the initial homework, all the things you do related to your business in a given month. You ask yourself first, if I was only allowed to do one, where the business would be able to stay afloat and growing, what's that one activity for me? Then you get a second one, then you get a third one, maybe a fourth. I would highly recommend you narrow it to 3, but every once in a while, someone is adamant they need a fourth. So 3 plus 1, so 4 to maybe 5 hours scheduled into your work week. And you're now getting, I would dare say, more than 64% of your total results from those 5 hours. Maybe closer to 70, maybe even close to 80% of your results from those big rocks getting the proper attention, as well as putting the time and attention into that first question, which has the potential to 10x your results. Now, you're going to love the third question. What do I need to do less of? What do I need to do less of? The answer to this is going to be, it's going to be interesting for some. Some are going to laugh, and some it's going to take a little while to settle in. Everything else on that list. You need to do less of everything else on that list, period. Now, as I say that, it was confounding the first time I worked through this. It's like, well, those things still need to get done. Yes, they still need to get done. However, there's a big shift in your mind when you've given priority. You've taken the time to narrow down what your unique abilities are, what the highest and best use of your time is. And you've identified that in your mind. And what you realize is the other stuff, you realize, yeah, it'll get done, but it'll get done when it gets done because it's not as important as these. Putting out fires, you're like, let it burn. Let that shit burn because I'm growing the daggone business. And these are the things that are, like I said, the 4 activities that are producing 64% plus of the results. The other stuff, those things burning are maybe 3-4% of the stuff. Like it's not even registering. So you now, and I have another analogy like this. As entrepreneurs, I call it spinning plates. Remember on the Johnny Carson show? So I know some people don't know who that Johnny Carson is probably, but he was on the Tonight Show. I forgot who the guy is now. Who's the guy now?
David Letterman?
No. There's the guy from Saturday Night Live. I forgot his name.
Oh, the new guy. Got it.
Yeah, the new guy. He's been there for years, but I'm almost 50 as well. So Damien and I we're Johnny Carson. So back in the day when Johnny Carson was on the Tonight Show, and even prior to him, when I was watching, I forgot who it was before, they had sticks and they had plates spinning on the sticks. And these people are spinning these plates, and there's all sorts of plates, and they had records and just spinning them. And as entrepreneurs, when you recognize this, you recognize that 4 or 5 plates are the meat of your growth of the business, and you don't care. Like, you're not running frantically around because you know you've got the foundation under control. And then when we get to other stuff, the other plates are still going to get spun, but not by you. And this is where we get to the third question in depth. So the third question is, what do I need to do less of? Everything else that was on that list. Why? Because you already picked the 3 to 4 things that were the highest and best use of your time. Those need to put guarded gates around those. Those are your big rocks. Those, come hell or high water, are going to get your time and attention every single week. The other stuff, you'll get to it when you get to it. However, just by making that discernment in your mind, here's what I've witnessed happen for myself and my clients around the world. When you choose to personally do any of those activities that you need to do less of, you've discerned they deserve less of your time, you don't just do it and get it done. You do it while creating a process, while creating a system, while creating a checklist, while making it delegatable, while making it systemizable, while making it processable. So your mind shifts. You recognize, I'm putting the time and attention and energy into these big rocks. These are my major focus. These things, when I dedicate time to them, I'm going to dedicate a little bit of extra time to make a process out of it, a system out of it, so that it still gets done, but not by me. So what does that mean? When you make a system or a process out of it, that means it can be delegated to someone else. So that plate can still be spun, but not by you, because you've taken a little bit of extra time to make that checklist, to make that process, to make that a system that someone else could follow to get the end result without it taking any more of your time. And sometimes nowadays that can be automated, even better. So think about this. You're now focusing more in your unique abilities. You're now focusing on more activities that give you that potential to 10x your results. You're not being distracted by the activities that require less of your time because they're the 20% of activities, or they're the 80% of activities rather, that only give you 20% of the results. And once you discern that, you'll see them and you'll schedule it. Here's the other thing. You schedule an hour a week to dedicate time to focus on systemizing and processing and getting some of those things done, at least an hour. Sometimes it takes a little bit more in the beginning. But now when you do it once, and now it's being done, but not by you. And it frees you up to stay in that more creative zone to focus more on question number 1 the next time you get something in motion. Okay, because once you get that thing in motion, what do we need to start doing? Generally every quarter, sometimes sooner, hey, we got that one thing in motion. What's next? What's the other thing that we haven't started doing yet? And that could be another lead source. That could be, the wide variety of possibilities that are there. It's a continual what's next process for what do I need to start doing? Because once it's going in place, now you got that systemized process, you got the team working on it, and you're working on your unique abilities that you've already determined what you need to do more of. So what you need to do less of, yes, I get it. They don't magic, there's no elves that show up, here we are Christmas time, that show up and get the toys made. Like it's like, look, we have to roll our sleeves up and recognize, it still needs to get done, but it's not the high priority. When I'm going to choose to do it, I'm going to make a system out of it. I'm going to make a checklist. I'm going to be able to delegate this, outsource it, systemize it, process it, automate it, whatever. So it's getting done, but it's not taking any of my time. And that's the key. Then we get to question number 4. Question number 4 is a multifold answer, but it will make sense. Question number 4 is this. What do I need to stop doing altogether? What do I need to stop doing altogether? And this is a dual fold answer. So sometimes in business, we have things in our schedule that we do every week, every month, sometimes every day, just because that's the way it's always been. But when you go through this process of writing down all the things that you do related to your business in a given month, you've gone through the process of asking yourself, what's the number one thing, number two, number three thing. You now have a clear picture of that clarity of what's the best use of your time. And what you're going to find is, once you go through the next one, what do I need to do less of? There's going to be some things that you're like, that stuff's not even relevant anymore. Why do we still do this? Like this process, when I've gone through this, I realized that expired. Like that doesn't serve any purpose anymore. So we're just going to cut that all together. In business, sometimes that's the case. However, where I feel it's most important is really digging deep into our
Everybody
own.
write that one down, because I know it already popped in your head. I know the one that you absolutely have to stop doing is popped in your head. So you don't have to put it in chat, but write it down personally now.
Yep. It's a TPS report. What was that movie where the guy was hypnotized and every week the guy needed the TPS report? This report's meaningless. Like what? This is just a time waster. No one even cares about it. We all have had that TPS report like scenario in our business. Like why do we even do that? That's doesn't serve any purpose. Cut that out. Now, what you're also going to gain clarity on as you do this, as Damien mentioned earlier, we're focusing more on business here today, but this process works for improving your health, improving your key relationships, and improving any area of your life. We're focused on business, but one of the main equal, it's everybody has no advantage is time, right? So where we really break down as an entrepreneur of what do I need to stop doing is really digging into what are your time wasters. And now I work with people that are well known. I work with people that I never share anything personally. I never have any judgment or anything like that. But I mean, I've had entrepreneurs that are very well known that have had, relationship situations. They've had extramarital affairs. They've had, things. That's a time-consuming thing. And when they go through this, they're like, you know what? Like it's time for me to get out of that. Like so, that's one thing. So. And married or not, entrepreneurs that are this thing, a big addiction. The question is, what's your addiction? And I'm not asking you to state it, but it's funny working with clients in a wide variety of niches. I had one client who's one of the best in his niche, and he hit me up one day. He's like, Tom, I've been working with you for years, and I got to come clean. I'm wondering what the heck he's gonna. I don't know if he's talking about drugs or a relationship or whatever. He's like, there's this game that I just play hours a day. Like, and I'm not minimizing this. I'm saying this because this is real life stuff. This multimillionaire, who's one of the best in his field, I was expecting drugs or relationship or something. He hit me with this game, and this game is ruining me, my business, my life, my marriage, everything from a game, right? And I'm bringing it up, and I brought it up to many people over the years, not mentioning him or whatever, but other people like, yeah, I have things that suck away my time. Here's something just to put this in perspective from this little device here. The most powerful thing we could ever have in our pocket, all the information in the world waiting for us. However, it's also trained with billions and billions of dollars of marketing and advertising and psychological advantages to help them steal our time. Time equals money, for real. Look at the companies that this thing has inside of it and the apps and all. The more time they're able to get from people cumulatively, the more their company is valuable. So think about that. So here's a little thing for you to consider of what is mine to stop doing altogether. Let's just say 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes a day times 365. If you take 30 minutes a day times 365, that's going to give you the minutes. Divide that by 60. And that's going to give you the hours in a year. Divide that by 40-hour work weeks. And what you're going to find is it is 4.5 work weeks for 30 minutes of swiping a day is equivalent to 4.5 40-hour work weeks. Think about this. And I know what you're thinking when I first heard this, like, holy crap, I swipe way more than 30 minutes a day. Holy crap. What about an hour? 1 hour a day, and we're talking 365, 1 hour a day. And this isn't like, oh my God, I can't believe he swipes an hour a day. She swipes an hour a day. Like an hour a day is 9 40-hour work weeks wasted in a year. 2 hours a day, 18 40-hour work weeks in a year. Think about this. And I'm bringing this up because this is the ultimate distraction tool if you don't have the focus. So when I bring this up and what do I need to stop doing, you need to ask yourself, what is the time waster for you? And I'll give you one example. And Damien and I were having a good talk. Damien and I have cracked many beers together over the years, but I was sharing with him a story. where I was pretty well tied on 4 years ago, and nothing major crazy was going on. I just was with my buddy, and I said, you know what? As I'm drinking a beer, I said, I'm done. He's like, oh, for tonight? I'm like, no, I'm gonna have another beer tonight, but I'm done. After tonight, I'm done. He's like, what do you mean? Like, I was done with this. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, right, sure, yeah, whatever. Well, it's been almost 4 years now. And that was from that one decision. Just, you know what, I'm done with that. And similarly, years ago, so on these little handy devices, my son may be coming, if we're still going by the time he gets here. He's 19 now, but 10 years ago, he was flying around with me and going places and stuff. And him and my daughter, she just left a little while ago. She's 16. So 10 years ago, she was 6. And when we're flying, as a good dad, I'm like, all right, I'm playing games with them. I'm playing Plants with Zombies and Angry Birds. And we're playing these on the flight. And there was one with landing airplanes. I forgot what the heck that one was. That was pretty cool. We played those games a lot. And then this happened to me. I flew, I think it was like a cross-country flight. I got on a flight on the East Coast, ended up in the West Coast, and I played Angry Birds or one of those games the whole daggone time. And it hit me like, holy crap. Like 5 hours of just nothing? I could have written a book. I could have read a book. I could have, and at that moment, I deleted all that shit from my phone. And back in 07, 08, whatever year this was, I was like, enough of that nonsense. I got shit to do.
Come on, you had a pass. You were on a plane.
right, a pass. Right. Now, and when I say this, I'm not saying, get rid of everything that gives you joy and fun, but you get the point. I did it initially to do and bond with my kids. And then my kids weren't there with me and I did it on my own. I'm like, whoa, I literally just wasted 5 hours. Like I was in Zombieland. I literally was gone for 5 hours. What could I have accomplished in that time? So think about this. What is your thing? So some people, and this is not judgmental, some people it's dating apps, some people it's Facebook, some people it's YouTube, some people it's Twitter, some people it's, you name it, millions and millions of things that are the distractions. What is the thing that you know is stealing your time? And think about it from that 30 minutes a day. And trust, if you don't trust the math, do the math yourself. 30 times 365 is going to give you all the minutes for the year. Divide that by 60, it's going to give you the hours. Divide that by 40, as in 40-hour work week, and that's going to give you 4.5 40-hour work weeks from 30 minutes a day. Holy shit, if that doesn't wake you up. What is it that's stealing your life for you? And guess what? It's enriching those apps and enriching those people that it is stealing the masses cumulatively. So, and this is not said in a judgmental way, but think about that. And this goes into, what do I need to stop doing altogether?
Oh man, I guess I gotta quit football. That takes up my whole damn day, man.
Quit football, right.
Sunday football is over.
Yeah. And like I said, this isn't about giving up things that bring you joy. Like everything, here's the thing, live your life intentionally is the key. When you're doing it intentionally, that's a whole different thing. When I did that flight, I was just, let me play this game for a little bit, and 5 hours went by. It was not intentional. It was in a Brendan Burchard calls it browser blackout, where you black out and you're like, whoa, I got sucked in for an hour or two. Like, what the heck? And just like, whoa, I had other plans for the day. So when you live your life intentionally, that's a different story. Lead your life by design, not by default. That's the key. So in Napoleon Hill's book, Outwitting the Devil, he calls it a non-drifter. A non-drifter is clear about where am I and where am I going? And here's what all this leads to. All this leads to this question. What's the best use of my time right now? Now, I'm going to say, back when I was workaholic mode, I used to think improperly that meant if I wasn't doing a revenue-producing activity, I was a jackass loser. And I was wrong. That's not what this means. What it means is you need to hone your discernment muscle to say, what's the highest and best use of my time right now? This is how I ask myself every day. What's mine to do right now? Am I doing what's mine to do right now? And sometimes it's like, no, it's time for me to close the laptop and go spend some time with Wanda. Sometimes it's like, no, it's time to close the laptop, go for a moped ride. Sometimes it's close the laptop, go for a walk. Sometimes it's close the laptop and go spend time with my kids. Trust you get good at trusting your discernment muscle because you've already scheduled in the big rocks. And you're not that workaholic that's just working for work's sake. on the 80% of activities that only give you 20%. Because I used to brag about how hard I work. Here's a story that I couldn't even share for so long because it teared me up every time. And my son's 19 now, but this was back when he was a baby. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2002, early 2002, and I was the publisher of the North Carolina Home Book for anyone looking to build, remodel, or decorate their $1 million plus home in Charlotte, Greensboro, or Raleigh, Durham. And man, I was beating my chest of how hard I was working. And I'm talking with a gentleman who used to work with Jim Rohn the same time that Tony Robbins worked with Jim Rohn. And he actually started a company with Tony way back in those days. And his name was Ricky Rainbow. And I said, "Man, Ricky, I'm in the office at about 6:30, 7 in the morning. I leave about 8, sometimes 9 p.m. at night." And he said, man, he leaned back, and I was bragging when I said it. I'm like, yeah, I'm working my butt off, bragging about it. He leaned back. He's like, "Man, Tom, I can tell that you want me to pat you on the back for that. A lot of people brag about how hard they work." He said, "Don't you have a new baby son?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, how much do you see in your son?" And I was like, "Oh, man." I was like, "Ooh." And he's like, "Don't you have a new wife?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, how do you think that's working out for her?" I said, "Man." He's like, "I'm not here." And then here's what he shared with me, and I'll share with you a challenge. He said, "So I challenge you this. If you want to impress me, get the same results in half the amount of time." He said, "To be honest, you're working so much that still wouldn't impress me." So he's like, "You'd have to do it again. Do it first once and then do it again. How can you get the same results in half the amount of time?" And I would challenge you to answer that question for yourself. And when you do this, that is the answer. This 4-step process that we just went through is the answer to get the same results or better in half the amount of your time. And the coolest part about it is now you're going to be able to sit more in the creative zone as the captain of your ship, recognizing, what are the best. Well, here's the good news. You don't just do this for you. You have each and every one of your team members do this process as well for their specific role. What do I need to start doing? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to stop doing altogether? So you now build a fine-tuned clarity machine of everybody knowing what's the best use of their time and putting the time and effort into those 20% of activities that produce 80% of the results, and getting to the 80% of activities that only produce 20% of the results when they can. And when they do it, they're taking the same attitude that you have just by going through this process. This builds you a superstar team. And so that circles back to the football thing. So when you trust your discernment, if you're doing what's yours to do, lead that life intentionally. And guess what? It gives you the fruits and the choices to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want. But you're not neglecting the big rocks in the process. That all comes from you knowing, looking yourself in the mirror, that I've done what's mine to do. I'm not neglecting the field. As I sow, so shall I reap. I'm putting the time and effort in as that farmer to make sure the weeds are getting pulled out, make sure the fertilizer's there, make sure it's getting watered, because I want this sucker to produce the best crop ever. I'm there committed to giving it the proper attention. I'm not neglecting the field. When you're doing that, God bless you. The less you work, the more that crop will produce. And that gives you the time freedom to choose what you want to do. And absolutely, life is a joyous adventure. I would encourage you to find hobbies and passions and things that really get you jazzed up and excited outside of work. That's when you are able to, in working out, for instance, you can overtrain and you can be hit, and that's, the workaholic. Man, I'm in the gym 5 hours a day. Well, if you rested a bit, you'd probably be bigger, you'd be bigger and get better results, but I'm not here to tell you what to do, right? So there's smart ways to do it. And this is one way to help you gain that clarity, help you take control of that pickle jar of putting the big rocks in first and watching how, magically, when you go through those 4 questions and you schedule those in and you give them the time and attention, holy cow, I give these things the proper time and attention. I can't believe how amazing the results are. And this goes back to my sales days too. I remember as a salesperson in corporate America, I was number 1 in 5 sales organizations. But I generally had spikes like this. I'd be out there prospecting, doing all the right things. Then my funnel would build up. I'd have lots of sales. I'd get cocky and lazy and stop prospecting. And then oh shit, I got to get my ass prospecting. Then to go prospecting and build the funnel up. And I didn't have a system. I just was like,
welcome to the agency owner's world.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I get it. And the key is to create these systems to where you're putting the time and attention into the thing you need to start doing, which could 10x your results, the 3 to 4 things that are the absolute best use of your time, which guess what, is going to keep your funnel full all the time. And a lot of the other stuff is busy work that distracts you from doing what's going to grow your business. And so that way you can, and you'll grow and grow with the systems and processes rather than having that hilly roller coaster ride. And the latter is a better situation, the prior is a better situation. Having these systems in place to make sure the funnel's always full is the key. It's no secret. When you put the time and effort in, the funnel's full and life is good. When you neglect what you're to do, you're scrimping around for crumbs. I've been there. I've been there in the sales world. Feast or famine, right? Man, this is the best month ever, best week ever. And it tends to lead to, at least in my history, a little bit of cockiness and not doing what was mine to do, which leads to leaner times.
This is in life. I think everyone has experienced it because I believe there's something in the universe that makes it so. But when things get comfortable, and I'm speaking for 50 years. I'm speaking both professionally and personally. Mm-hmm. But when things get comfortable, rough times are ahead, or rough times are upon, or rough times are on. It's and you watch it too. You watch it with your peers and friends and family and adult children. It's just that's such really good wisdom right there, bud.
Well, and I'll share this with you as well. And this is in a positive light, and it comes from something I learned in the Marine Corps. And it might not make sense right in the beginning, but it will in a second. In the Marine Corps, they teach us if someone pulls a knife on you, the first thing you must do is expect to get cut. And when I first heard this, I'm like, screw that. I'm not getting cut. I'm getting out of this without getting cut. But that's not how your mind has to work. I learned you have to accept I'm going to get cut. And here's why. Because when someone pulls a knife on you, chances are very high, like almost 100%, you're going to get cut somehow, some way. But the problem is if you don't make that decision in advance and all of a sudden you get sliced on your arm, you're like, oh shit, I'm cut. Boom, now you're dead. Right? So as a business leader, I transition that into expect chaos, expect plans to not go to plan, expect someone to drop a ball, expect yourself to forget something, expect stuff to happen. And what that's done for me is really chilled out my adrenal gland, the fight or flight activity, and really helped me remain that calm, cool, collected leader more so than I did in the past. The Marine, hot-headed Marine, do or die, semper fi, kill or be killed. I would lose my temper, lose my cool. And what I found is I'm not the most creative when that happens. And actually it's scientifically proven. When your adrenal gland kicks in, it's about fight or flight, and it lessens your brain oxygen and blood flow because it's thinking it's going to die. So I expect shit to go wrong. And I will say at the same time, I have high expectations for the people that I work with and the people that work with me. Yet I still expect unforeseen stuff to go wrong and plans to not go to plan. So when stuff comes in that used to freak me out, now I'm just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Now what? Knowing what we now know, what's the next step? Right? Just clear, quick, simple way to not freak out when stuff doesn't go wrong. Or I'm sorry, when stuff doesn't go to plan and or goes what we would interpret as wrong. Life's going to unfold the way it unfolds. We can tend the field, right? We tend the field. As we sow, so shall we reap. But every once in a while, a daggum storm comes. Crap, we didn't know that storm was going to come. It really screwed up the plans, right? But it's not all the time. It's not all the time. So you fix everything, you get back on path, and you assess, at least from the way I do it, is a quick assessment. Okay, knowing what we now know, this new information that we have, has the plan changed? If so, where are we? Where are we looking to go? And what's the first step? What do we do now? What's next? What's next? And that's how in the Marine Corps, I was always amazed by the leaders that I read about and I witnessed that just, man, were they stoic and nothing shook them. And I was like, damn, how do they do it? Because I'm getting pissed off. I'm fighting and all this other stuff. And I don't know if it's emotional maturity or just learning enough lessons that the plans never go to plan, but it's given me a lot of peace. And you till, it's literally, the sowing and reaping is it. I till the field, man. And when you till the field, it's going to produce fruit. When you neglect it, guess what happens? The daggone roots take, or the bad plants take over. The what do they call that?
Weeds.
The weeds take over, man. You don't want the weeds taking over. You got to take care of that.
Either or.
Yep. So here we have it. You know, in an hour, I wanted to give you that quiver of clarity to hopefully inspire you to do the most important thing from that. Here is that next step of the homework.
Let's draw some feedback. Let's draw some input and or questions of Tom on direct here. I know Greg was mentioning something about Outwitting the Devil. That is a really cool book. And it's also, that's the book after Conversations with God, not even a religious book, but it was a very unique book. We actually listened to it on long drives, my wife and I, and actually had the children listen too while we were driving up the west coast. Mm-hmm. Really good audible.
Yep. I love it because it has actually that voice of the devil in it, right? It's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's a really, really good read, if anybody. And also the other book recommendation we have, just so everybody remembers, was the
Who Not How.
Who Not How, exactly.
Man, that's a must. For entrepreneurs, that son of a gun nails it. Who Not How. And crap. And that book is a perfect example of it. Dan Sullivan's idea, he didn't want to write it. Dr. Benjamin showed up to like, hey, I'll write this for you. It's like, perfect. And that's the epitome of the title, Who Not How. Dan wasn't like, how am I going to write this book? Who am I going to get to write this book? And holy cow, it's amazing. Yeah. And by the way, I just got back from that event last week. We had 2 people that produced $60 million in less than 2 years.
Wow.
And both of them just reiterated what we all know. It was all about their team. Like me putting a process in place to get the right people on board. I could never come close to doing this on my own. It's impossible. But with the right team, you know, it's like no matter how good Tom Brady is, he can't win a daggone football game by himself. He needs a freaking elite team.
There's no way we could create the great quality of work we do at GoMobile Solutions for our community without the team. The team I'm most proud about. Absolutely most proud about. It's one of my, you know what I've even said this because I've 30-year career now. Mm-hmm. So this team that I've had on for, let's just say, the last 7-8 years has been the best team out of all 30 years. And I've had, up to 100 plus employees with a lot of executive management, etc. Now we run lean and mean, baby, and we've got a solid team. And we can do that because of how super quality the team is. And,
right.
And that's so,
I ran a company with Jim Kelly back in the day, Hall of Fame quarterback from the Buffalo Bills. And he's like, the only reason I was who I was because I had an offensive line that took care of me. Like, I don't care who the quarterback is. You give them a crappy offensive line, they're screwed.
Yeah. Ask Ben Roethlisberger. You know, he's going to be his last year because he's been his back too much.
Yep.
But all right, let's get some engagement.
I see Greg talking about Outwitting the Devil, the hypnotic rhythm, because most people never examine their lives. Yes, absolutely. And the big other takeaway was one that I mentioned, Greg, and everyone else, is 98% of people are drifters. They go where life pushes them. And here's the thing, we choose to be non-drifters, but that doesn't mean once we've chosen to do it, we're always not non-drifters. I drifted on that flight I told you about, playing that game the whole time. That wasn't my intention. I just got caught in that thing. So non-drifters can become drifters and get back to being non-drifters. It's up to being intentional. So non-drifters, 2% of the world, are setting their sail that will get to where they want to get regardless of where the wind is blowing. I'm not a sailor, by the way. I don't know how that works. I'd be screwed if I'm on a sailboat trying to get somewhere with the wind blowing against me. But apparently a proper sailor knows how to adjust the sail so that they can get where they want to go regardless of how and where the wind is blowing. Then I see another, Sandy, can we get a replay of this? It was so good. Cool, glad you liked that. Elena, I want it on the replay. Cool, and great team. People love your team as well, Damien. So, man, Damien, I hope that this opened up some people's eyes. And remember, it takes doing the homework, dadgummit. You made the promise in the beginning you're going to do the homework. Seriously, that's where the rubber meets the road. Take out a blank sheet of paper and ask yourself and go through the process. It's 15, 20 minutes of what are the things I do related to my business in a given month. All right, the things you do.
So now I'm going to call out some folks, see how we're going to apply some of the stuff that we've learned today. Carl Washington, I'd really love to hear how you're going to apply some of what you've heard today. It's good to see you on, bud. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm driving.
It's all right. Hey, be careful. Don't put the camera on. You're good. Be careful. What comes up for you, sir?
The biggest thing is stop doing stuff that's not productive, right? That's a big one. for me, is to reclaim and reclaim more of my time. That's the biggest takeaway for me.
How'd that 30 minute swiping sound to you, Carl? Was that like an eye opener for you?
Yeah, it was eye opening. I'm a math guy, and I'm gonna tell you, yeah, that was a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a big one. Cool. I appreciate the feedback.
That was a big one for me too, Tom. I think I was walking to check the fish, which is why I kind of brought it closer to me here. But while I was doing that, when you said, okay, now what do I need to stop? First, what do I need to do less of? That everybody needs to apply that. But what do I need to straight up extract and cut out? Right. That was a big one. That was a really big one. I'm gonna actually put some thought to that. Excuse my rude dogs. Leanne, what comes up for you?
I mean, this was huge for me. I've got all my notes all written out and the homework and the 4 questions. Interestingly, the first thing that came up for me just now from this conversation is I was thinking towards the end, like, what are those things that I spend a lot of time on that aren't really serving me and getting me what I need? And, not surprisingly, I spend a hell of a lot of time reading. And reading's not that on its own, but, thinking about it, I had a little thought, like, what am I trying to get out of that reading? And I realized that I read because I'm looking to feel a connection, and it's not actually giving me that, which is why I keep on reading, because I'm looking for that connection, and maybe there's a better way for me to do that. And this is just in my personal life, right? It's not even having to do with work and nothing to do with the business or anything like that. But it's something that takes away from other things and isn't actually getting me what I need. I enjoy the hell out of it, and I'm not going to stop reading, but maybe I need to.
I've got some feedback that might be helpful on you. And this is big from Rich Sheffrin. For those who don't know Rich, I was president of the company for him for a few years, great friend, amazing mind. And a lot of people, myself included, I fall into that category. I related to this years ago. I was reading to escape and reading to procrastinate and reading to I knew I had things to tend to, but I would fool myself to think reading was equally or as important. Now, I will say this. There's a difference between just in time and just in case learning. And I would encourage entrepreneurs to ask themselves, what do I need exactly right here, right now that I can implement right away? That's just in time type of situation. That's implementable by me in my business. Versus just in case learning is, I'll learn this, and if I ever need it down the road, I'll have it. Now, I'll go learn martial arts in case I need to whoop someone up at a live event or something. Like, those types of things. Or I'll learn this skill just in case. No, when you can fine tune of like, what do I need? What's the skill set I need right now that I can implement and gain insights from? And then invest in that. It was a big eye opener for me to understand those two differences.
I think everyone here can relate to that. Yep. Everyone here can relate to that because when we get these training courses, we don't have to read it from, just like a book, you don't have to read it from cover to cover. In fact, I just learned that this year. But with the courses, what we need to know so we can go out and turn it on, right? Did I cut out?
A little bit.
I cut out. It's about knowing just what we need to know so that we can turn a profit, right? We don't have to learn everything cover to cover. I think it's very, very important.
And
I just learned this year you don't have to read a book cover to cover.
Right. Yeah. Use it. What do I need from it? Yep. Denise had a good point, and this was a big one for me too. Allowing others to interrupt. And boundaries go a long ways. Boundaries go a long ways in prospecting. Boundaries go a long ways with clients. Boundaries go a long ways with work environments. And you can do it in a nice, tactful, polite manner. And you can make systems up to where when this sign is up, mommy or daddy is in, the zone. Like, unless there's a real emergency, I'm unavailable. And you get everyone's buy-in on that. And whoever, wherever that is, obviously you don't overuse it because then it's mute. But when you have those periods of time that actually could and should be scheduled into your calendar, these hours every week, these 2 hours here, these 2 hours here are my complete focus time. Unless there's an absolute emergency, I'm untouchable. And those are ways to set boundaries. But boundaries are very good in protecting your time to make sure you're giving the focus that is required so that you can tend to the field. This is my time to tend to the field. If I don't tend to the field, we don't get the crop. We don't like get people's buy-in and watch how with those boundaries you can be more velvet hammer like with them. It's not bash them over the head, leave me alone, damn it. There's a velvet hammer way to do it in a tactful manner to get their buy-in, possibly.
Another thing to protect your time that comes up for me right now, Tom, and everybody else that's on is, and I do this occasionally, and it's where I go into my phone and I shut all of the notifications off. Every single one of them, of every single app. And you'd be surprised how many you have actually on. And then you'd be even more surprised how quiet it gets. And actually, every time I do this, you get a day and a half in and you go, boy, I feel a lot more peaceful today. You realize that that's why. Now, here's the other thing. Certain things you have to have those pings on, and you'll learn really quickly which ones those are.
Right.
Like if I shut them all off and my team can't get a hold of me, then it's probably Slack that I need to turn on, because it's really just my team on Slack, right? And I'll drop the ball or something, and then the team will be like, okay, well, you got to have that notification on. All right, I'll put that one on. But you know what? Facebook doesn't come back on. Instagram doesn't come back on. Skype doesn't come back on. Right. WhatsApp doesn't come back on. Google doesn't come back on. My Gmail doesn't come back on. I can keep going if you want me to. All of us have all of those on. And one of the things we don't notice that happens is because it's the butterfly effect, but it's not the positive I like the butterfly effect when it's in a positive setting, like conversations. Butterfly effect is amazing sometimes when you're doing it deep. But when you've got the butterfly effect where you're focused on a thing and you got a ping, and then just the fact that you see that you got the ping, you might stay focused on the thing, but you're thinking of the ping.
Right.
And so even if you don't go to address the ping and open up the new window and now engage in it, you've already been knocked off track of trying to focus on the thing. So even if you try to do the best you can, the pings are always going to win out. So when you can say gently and with velvet hands, and you can get people to make it their buy-in of interruption, that's in the physical world where we are face to face. They have no stinking clue times 100 that they're pinging you or that they're having the interruption. You can't have the same conversation, but you have the power. You have the power to turn it off.
Right.
And then again, when the fire alarm or the bat phone rings, you'll learn what needs to be on. And you can also turn on Messenger from just your spouse.
Yep.
Or just your kids. So it starts with a clean break, I think, cutting it all off, and then bring them all back on one by one as you determine you need them. Try that for a week.
Yeah. I have very few pings, and it's amazing how free that is. And I'm the email zero. I have like 120,000 emails in my inbox. I don't give a shit about email. People that reach me to email don't know how to reach me. People who know how to reach me know how to reach me. Things are important, find me. I'm not out there wasting my time on shit that's not important to me.
So tell me some productivity hacks then with regard, like already you just started diving into one right there. Like, you choose not to do as much email. Now, obviously we had to send you a link to get onto this, and we had a little exchange there. You go and address it when you need to address it. But what are some other things that you personally practice that help you to be way more productive and focused?
Man, I used to be a people pleaser. I used to bend over backwards for people and do anything for anybody, like friends included, and go the distance and neglect myself to help them. And I've put more boundaries around that to where I'm more selective. I'm very aware that time is my most precious and ever fleeting asset. And when I invest it in this, that means I can't invest it anywhere else. And so it's a real eye-opener for me. So come on in. This is my son who's 19 now. He just showed up to Airbnb here. So Harley, say hi to my friend Damien and his friends.
Hey. Good to see you. That's Junior Beal. Awesome.
Yeah. Yep. That's my man right here. So perfect timing. He just got off at 7. We were having our chat here. So
we're gonna let your dad go momentarily.
Yep. So okay, cool. So recognizing that time is my most precious and ever fleeting asset. And one of the New York Times bestselling authors, Jeffrey Gitomer, was beating me up back in 2001 when my son, prior to him being born, of like, dude, you need to stop doing things for people for free. Like, you need to respect your time. When you call an attorney, are they going to allow you to pick your brain, or are you going to, know that there's a charge involved there? So you have to recognize your unique personality, experience, and perspective is valuable. And for the right people, they'll respect that. And guess what? You have to recognize also, not everybody deserves equal amount of time, attention, and energy. Who are your people? Gain clarity on who your people are personally and professionally. Time equals love. How are you scheduling and investing time into those people that you love? Telling them you say it is one thing, showing them is another. And the same thing applies to you. Are you taking care of yourself? So the long and short of answer is, the more I started taking care of myself, the more I guarded and protected my time, and more focused and less distracted with busy stuff, like stuff that used to keep me 16, 20-hour days of really just bragging about how hard I was working. Now my goal is, going back to that one question and challenge that I got when this boy was just a baby, if you want to impress me, get the same results in half the amount of time. That's my continual motive. How can I get the same results in half the amount of my time? And that comes from the who, not how. That comes from systems, automations, etc. And it's not, I brag now on how I have created things that can continue to grow without me having to be there. That's the goal.
David, anything come up for you, sir? I know we got some big goals this next year on the EP side, huh?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff. This is great stuff. Yeah, I've been got gas in my pen. I've been taking a lot of notes. So my biggest thing is really, of course, the notification thing is absolutely huge, but just really planning out the night before, I think, and just being focused before the day even begins, so you have a clear vision of what you're going to accomplish, and just focus on revenue producing activities, and everything else is a waste of time.
And Damien, I now have, thanks to your answer, first of all, you sound like Elvis. I love that. It's like you got I don't know if you ran a relation to Elvis or anything like that, but that's pretty darn cool. But Damien, now that you asked that, and from this gentleman's answer here, when I open up my Evernote, I don't know if you can see this, I'm going to go to a template. I created a template that's my daily journal, and I'll read you some of these things. What you track, you're able to grow. So I track my quality of sleep last night, any notes or dreams, my AM walk distance, time out and back, money out, money in, 7 things I'm grateful for today. Who am I?
Slow it down. These are good. Slow down. These are really, really good.
Yep. 7 things I'm grateful for today. Who am I? And I list 7 things of who I am. What would me from 20 years from now tell me today? What do I want to be, do, and have for my health, wealth, love, and relationships? At least 7. If nothing but this was accomplished today, it would be an amazing day. What is this for me today? If nothing but this was accomplished this week, it would be an amazing week. What is this for me this week? Same thing for this month, same thing for this upcoming year.
Can you share Can you share that template with me?
Yeah.
Because everybody's clicking their fingers right now.
Yeah, I created this. It's pretty powerful. Reading time and notes, listening to or watching time and notes, writing time and notes, including daily emails, appointments today, intention set, who I need to be, what are my desired outcomes, gym day or rest day, if gym, workout stats, time in, time out, PEMF mat. I have a electromagnetic mat. One of my dudes cured his cancer from a PEMF mat plus an ozone therapy. So I track how many minutes I'm on the mat a day. I have my IR sauna, infrared sauna. I've done infrared sauna every day for 19 days in the past day for 50 minutes a day. That's a freaking challenge, let me tell you. Ozone therapy, time and notes, pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, jump rope. I put those in addition to my workouts, because when I have dead time, I'll just jump down and do 25 or 50 push-ups, 25 or 50 sit-ups. And I have a pull-up bar right near my office. I'll jump out and do some pull-ups. If I don't have this listed on here, it doesn't cross my mind. Top of mind awareness, liquid intake, food intake, fiber intake, evening routine, weight, best moment of the day was, something I'm proud of myself for today is, something I learned today is, something I would improve upon from today is. Me from 20 years ago now would tell me about today this. How would I rate today on a scale of 0 to 5? What would make tomorrow amazing? Bedtime and any additional notes. That's where I stand right now. So you asked, see, here's the thing with my life, when people come around me, like, holy shit, what'd you just do? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you keep writing in? Oh, that's my daily journal thing. Like, what you track, you're able to recognize and track the progress. So it's pretty amazing. So
that you'd be willing to share that template with me?
Yeah, I can share that with you.
Okay, and then I'll send it only to everybody who's on here.
All right, cool.
That's amazing. How can everybody follow you? How can they find you? You have any, you have any social media channels you want to post in here so everybody can follow you and see what you're up to?
Search my name on Google or in Facebook or anywhere, you'll find Tom Beal, but facebook.com/Tom Beal is a good one. I've got a whole bunch of stuff online. It just depends on what you're looking for. I deal in a Trinity success method, health, relationships, and finances. So I'm basically a high-level CEO coach. So I deal with people that are doing 1 million, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million to help them get their results better, but also take care of their health and relationships as well. So search my name, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff. My YouTube channel's got a lot of good stuff on it too. And I got some big plans for 2022. It's time, Damien, to take me from being the little known secret from the people who know to putting some stuff out there where it'll make a big splash in a new book. And I got a book that I've been working on with Jeffrey Gitomer and things like that. So it's going to be a big year in 2022. So
I'm really excited. I will be standing by waiting. I will definitely be waiting. That is awesome news to hear. You're right. You're like the best kept secret, for the guys that get the opportunity. Like I can say I'm blessed to get the opportunity to have some time with you. Thanks for sharing your time with everybody. Does anybody have any final questions before we let Tom go off with his son to go hang out?
Leanne,
yes,
thank you.
Totally agree. By the way, Leanne is our director of marketing, Tom.
Oh,
she was in the email chain.
Very cool. Well, hey,
anybody have anything else?
Thank you for your time today. I'm glad to see the feedback's been tremendous. I'll get that over, probably not today. I'm going out with my son right now, but I'll get that over to you over the next couple of days. And man, I love what you're doing, Damien. It's so good to reconnect with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I told Wanda, showed her a picture of us chatting from the other day, and she's like, we got to get down to Cabo. We're going to go see so we got to figure out a time to come down and visit you. All right. Cool.
So before you get to go, we like to give you a big sign off. And please, everybody, give Tom a big warm sign off, a big Christmas sign off, a big thank you. Go ahead and unmute. I know my internet's wonky. Don't wait for me.
Thank you. This was absolutely incredible, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. It was great.
Thank
you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Tom. Good stuff.
It was great.
Tom, it was great training.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Yeah. I finally came in by the better internet. I'm sorry about the choppiness, guys. Thank you so much, Tom. I love you, bud. Thank you.
Yeah. Love you too. I'll talk to you
Merry Christmas.
soon.
Enjoy the Airbnb and enjoy your time with your family. Enjoy your time with your son.
Sounds good. Will do. Talk with you soon. Bye for now.
Woo! Oh yeah, that was good stuff. That was the perfect timing, huh, for that? I've got a ton of notes as well. I'm going to be working on the homework. Who's going to be working on the homework? What a perfect time to just be thinking about that stuff, right? Like right now. And I'm so glad, David, that, wherever it got to a point where then we asked him and all of a sudden he started rattling off. You know why I didn't take him through the lightning round? Because he just took us through the lightning round. And now he's going to give us that template, and I'm going to share it with everybody that's on here today. So if you don't get it by Monday or Tuesday, knock, knock, knock. Damien, where's it at? Derek and Leanne, we're going to make sure we're going to get that to you. I want it, and I'm going to be asking myself that stuff every day. Like there's some questions that were hidden in there. There were some questions in there that I think we all need to ask ourselves every single day. So we can truly appreciate every minute we spend of the day. Truly appreciate how many people did we make feel good today? Think about that. Think about that. Do we ever really take a minute and just focus on, did I help someone out today? How many, there's some really good work in there. So I think that was the big bonus for this call. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for showing up to GoMobile's final Happy Hour Hangout. See, Leanne's even yawning now. Final Happy Hour Hangout of only the year. That's right, because we are dedicated to continue to do this. We had the meeting. We've had the meeting several times. Are we going to keep rolling the show? Are we going to keep the Happy Hour Hangout rolling? my Rolodex is deeper than you have seen so far, so I guess we've got a lot more time to go. We've got a lot more. For 2022, you can expect you will see us every Friday, same bat channel, same bat time, with some minor changes once in a while, like today. Thank you for coming early. Joe, I know that was probably a surprise to you, so you probably missed a little bit of this, but I am going to see if I can't twist Leanne's arm to see if we might not be able to share, which we don't share that replays because we want people to show up for these things live. But it was some really good New Year's work, and we're going to share it. We're going to share it. We're going to get this thing back out to you so that you can watch it, and so that you can take the notes that you want, or so you can review your notes. This is good end of the year work, and now I don't have to do it. He just did it for us all. He gets to lead us into some great homework there. So you guys all cool with that? All right, what do you think, Leanne? I put you on the spot.
We could at least send a replay to everyone that was here.
All right, there you go. There you go. See? Membership has its privileges. Hey, did you enjoy that, Elena? Yeah, how about you, Denise? Yeah?
Yeah, it was great. It's nice. It's just 4 steps. It's really simple. It's simple, but not easy, right?
That's right. And the stuff that's easy to do, it's easy enough not to do.
Easy to not do, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was some really good wisdom there.
It's only 4 steps. That's it.
4 steps to making a better 2022. Is that what we're going to call this? 4 steps to making a much better 2022? Getting it off to the right start? 4 steps to controlling your time and taking ownership of your time and the outcome and the results? 4 steps to your peace and happiness and your productivity and your performance, and therefore your profits. Ooh!
Excited.
Guys, this has been fun. Joe, were you going to say something?
No, I'm excited because that's one of the topics that I was talking to somebody about in terms of how do I maximize the time given other projects that I have going with developing this business, and then family time and so forth. And I just came in at the end, but I caught what he said, that
you're the reason why I'm twisting Leanne to get a replay out, by the way, because I know you only caught 15 minutes of this and I want you to have it. So
yeah, what you take is what you track is what you can track the progress. And that was that hit home, because you do a lot of things, unless you track them, you don't know how much you've done or where you're at. So
well, wait till you hear, Joe, that 30 minutes of swiping on your phone is 4.5 weeks. 30 minutes a day playing around on Facebook for fun is 4.5 work weeks in a year.
Wow.
Start doing that math. Yeah, so you'll see as you dive into the material. It was pretty good stuff today.
Awesome.
All right, well, we're closing in. It's going to be Christmas before you know it. You'll hear from me a few more times the rest of the year. Leanne, do we have any last minute stuff to mention for the year?
No, just as you already said, we have some good stuff lined up for January for the happy hour. Good things overall lined up, and just keep an eye on your inbox.
Awesome. Yeah, we already have 3 of the January's booked now, so you're going to get real excited. It's all designed around go, because that's what it's time to do. And right now, what I'm going to say to you now is have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Go mobile or go home. Take care, everybody. Bring it home.
Merry Christmas, everyone, or happy holidays.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you.
Thank you. Same to you. God bless you all.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad. Love that. Extra bonus points for James. Felicidades.
All right.
All right, guys. Take care. Love you.